Hello, this is the Public Relations Podcast. It's a podcast about what's going on the ground in PR and strategic comms today, for people in it, by people in it. We ask what's working, what's not working, what things are coming up that they've spotted, and more. I'm Richard Midson, a former career PR in European politics, a news editor and journalist in the UK, and now I also teach strategic comms and PR-related subjects at a university. And today I'm joined by Andrew Healey from Water and Wool, based in New York in the United States. Andrew and I are also going to be recording a chat about getting work in PR today after we record this. So if that interests you, keep listening for more details in a moment. But first of all, for the Public Relations Podcast, a huge welcome back, Andrew. It's great to have you back again. How are you doing?
Good to see you again. It's been a little bit over a year. It's good to connect.
We were just saying before we started recording, so much has changed in that time. But I mean, let's focus on the campaign that you've been doing recently, because I think that'll help us understand a bit about what you're seeing now and how things have changed a bit as well. Because you mentioning to me before that you've got a campaign. I mean, you work in the fintech space. You've been doing quite recently, which is looked at everything from kind of media relations, but also to AI as well. So tell us a little bit about the campaign. Just give us a sort of high-level overview before we kind of dig into it.
Sure. Yeah, so we're still working with them, but it's an AI-powered, what is it these days, platform in the private markets, lending and liquidity space, catering towards wealth management, financial advisors, and family offices. And I won't bore you to death with sort of the background of them, but really fascinating business. There's a huge gap in the marketplace that they're looking to fill. And the campaign, we just launched it 2 weeks ago. We're still in the process of sort of closing it out and moving on. But we were announcing both the launch of their company. We were announcing their initial seed round and fundraising. They had a little bit short of like $9 million there. And they were announcing a couple of strategic partners. So it was a pretty big announcement, which is great on the one hand, because you've got a lot of assets to work with, a lot of news that you're sort of sharing, but we want to make sure they all got equal parts coverage and things didn't get sort of buried in the lead. And they also had about 7 partners that needed to sign off, both investors, the capital backers, and other folks. So there was a lot of coordination leading up to it. All of this was taking place like December 15th to January 5th. So also a pretty...
Right over Christmas.
Right over Christmas, which was a blessing in disguise because there was not a lot going on.
Now, this is a lot of different elements that I'd love to dig into. I mean, what was the kind of the primary objective of the campaign? What is the kind of the main thing they said, this is the primary goal for that kind of thing?
Primary goal, since it was basically them coming out of stealth mode, was to raise their overall brand visibility, to connect with potential customers, in this case, financial advisors, and then their high net worth clients. They wanted to reach the next round of potential investors and potential partners, and they wanted to establish a CEO as a thought leader in the space. So a lot of strategic goals that crossed over in a certain aspect, and others kind of carved out their own path.
So when you're going from something which has been in stealth, and you're coming out for the first time, I mean, there must be some sort of initial interest from the trade press because there's something new to say. But how do you get that profile up fast? Because this isn't about sort of going, oh, well, we've got 12 months to gradually build it.
Yeah. I mean, we essentially had a 3-week window. We had about a 5-week window pre-launch to get everything in place, the messaging, doing the media training, working with the other partners, getting everything sort of aligned. Because we had this sort of weird period around from Christmas, holidays, New Year's, we ended up pitching it mid-December under embargo. Because we wanted to go live. I forget the exact date, but it could have been January. I think it was like Tuesday, January 6th or something. So if we waited till the Monday after New Year's, which would have been the worst day to pitch it because everyone's coming back after a 2-week lull. So there were a couple of hurdles there, but it definitely helped that week in between the holidays and New Year's. Reporters, it's just a slow news period. And so we were able to get some good responses from them, but shared it under embargo, gave everybody essentially a 3-week heads up. Wealth management is one of our top verticals, so we know a lot of the reporters here. So we've earned some trust, have a lot of credibility in the space. They tend to respond to our calls and texts and our emails, so that certainly helped. Pitched it under embargo, got a couple of very key trades interested in it. We did some interviews before the news went out, so that on the morning of the launch, the stories would come out synced up with their newsletters. So there's a lot of coordination that went into it, and a big part of us. The strategy was really getting diversified coverage and consistent. We never want to just get a splashy article or a splashy top tier, and then we sort of go away for 3 months. We really wanted to make sure we had coverage across top tier, some of the broad tech trades, some of the more specific wealth management trades, some of the specific fintech trades, social media, online niche communities get catered towards alternative assets, is a big part. GEO, SEO.
Yeah,
there was a lot
to
that really went into it.
bring that one up as well. I mean, there was one aspect that fascinates me as well, and we talked about this before in the fintech space, when financial space. There's a lot of sort of different stakeholders that you have to think about, isn't there? There's some products which are a lot easier to just market. You just come up with a nice idea and go for it. But you've got to be quite careful in what you do there. How do you manage all those different, well, literally stakeholders? How do you think about that when you're planning the campaign?
Well, I mean, in this case, it was very interesting because there was a lot of partners. I think they had about 4 VC backers. They had 2 exclusive partners that the platform was launching with, and then they had a couple of folks who were offering the capital up for essentially their balance sheet. So I think there were about 7 or 8 firms. It took a long time to get approvals up front, and a lot of that sort of predated us. But we were in charge. We were in contact with a lot of the other PR departments in terms of what we were doing, what the strategy was, what the timeline was looking to be. A lot of transparency, a lot of coordination. The partners were fantastic to work with. A lot of them lended quotes, lended their executives and thought leaders to the space. So it ended up working out. And it was a whirlwind. I mean, we've got dozens of articles in all of those channels we were looking for. Something that was a little bit of a surprise, but a pleasant one was how much indirect coverage we ended up getting from not even engaging the media, particularly with the tech trades and the fintech trades. This is a company, it really is a unique product, filling the gap that hasn't been sort of served yet. So, not every fintech will have the success that this one did on the media front. But a lot of those trades really, I mean, we were surprised how much ran with it. And then that sort of had a snowball effect. One trade saw it, then the next blog would pick it up and so forth.
And it just gained a momentum.
All of them.
I mean, just come back to stakeholders for a second. What do you think made that work? Is it because you kind of have you're known, and so it's I mean, obviously I'm flattering you here, but is it because you're known and they know that they can trust you to deliver that message? Or what do you think makes that work, that relationship, when you've got so many stakeholders involved?
I mean, to be honest, the reason why I think this was successful is it's a super interesting business that is doing something unique that doesn't exist.
Right. So it was a clear message.
There's
from the
lots
start.
of
It wasn't like everyone fighting about what we think the message should be. It's like, look, this is it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I mean, and I appreciate the kind words and the flattery. I know that we do a ton in the wealth management space and the fintech, so we know the reporters, they trust us, but it doesn't mean they say yes to every single thing we do. They'll respond to the pitch and give us that courtesy, but reporters will tell us all the time, hey, I'm busy right now, this doesn't fit my coverage, or, and I just covered something in the alternative asset space, I can't touch private credit again. So our relationships get our foot in the door, get our clients' foot in the door, but it doesn't guarantee coverage necessarily. I think in this case, the product was truly interesting and innovative. The CEO had a great story, and it's solving a need that currently exists in the market.
Yeah, so it pulled everyone together, didn't it?
I mean, when we first spoke to the CEO and the founder back in late summer and we started having conversations, within 5 minutes, I remember thinking like, wow, this is a really, really interesting new thing. There's lots of really interesting products, but they're improvements on current versions. This was something that was brand new to the category. So I think we just have to give credit to the client in the space for...
Yeah, they've got an interesting product, and it's always easier to sell an interesting product, isn't it? That's the thing.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the AI aspect as well. We've got to talk about this because, everyone's talking about GEO now and AI. How did you integrate that into the campaign?
So a couple of things. We're tinkering with a couple of GEO and AI tools that you feed in certain keywords, you feed in certain categories, and it will tell you which sites these LLMs and the AI search chatbots are relying on. And I know we were chatting about it. I think like 70% of it is aligned with what we thought it was, trade media, top tier, sort of trusted sources. But there were a couple of sites that popped up that were like tier 3 or tier 4. Not a knock on them, but things we don't necessarily think of as really sort of being top of mind to our clients or their CMOs. But the interesting thing with GEO, and again, it's evolving in real time, hesitant to put too much out there. Anyone claim to be an expert, it's hard to back that up. But an interesting development in it, besides the fact that it's sort of rejuvenating our media, brands are really putting a lot more budget into media relations this year, is, you think of our clients' constituents, whether it's their employees, potential hires, the media, investors, depending on what the type of business, public or private, there's different audiences. GEO is essentially driving AI chatbots as a new constituent because we can now come up with a GEO strategy where we can identify sites that AI puts a lot of credibility weight into, and we can tell our client CMO, hey, you might not think of this as sort of top tier or even top tier trade. And it's very possible not that many people will actually read it, but for whatever reason, these AI chatbots are putting a lot of credibility here. And so we're coming up with a media strategy designed specifically to train AI search.
It's fascinating.
And that is, I mean, last week we had 2 clients in town, one for an offsite, and another one we just sort of took out for breakfast just to catch up. When we raised that, talking about GEO, that was a bit like almost the entire focus of our conversation. And so it's interesting. I mean, when was the last time all of a sudden an entirely new audience or new set of constituents for everybody rose up, which by the way, there could be some sites that not a single human reads. Obviously, there is some traffic
Was
there.
there any kind of pattern in what you saw with those ones that you thought, no way, we would never do that? And you're looking at it and going, oh, I see why now.
A lot of them, there's a lot. So a lot of sort of social networks, Quora, Q&A sites, Reddit. It really depends on every single, industry and vertical has sites like that. That's almost sort of like community driven. A lot of that, because I think where they see that is it's authentic, it's real, it's transparent. You're hearing straight from, whether it's financial advisors, you're hearing straight from high net worth investors, things like that. And again, for a lot of our clients in the wealth management space, they're trying to reach financial advisors. They're not thinking of the end users. It's a B2B play, not a B2B to C play. In this case, a lot of the GEO sites that came up when we sort of did those, the reverse engineering and the backtracks do have that B2B to C component. So again, I'd say 70% of it, if not maybe 80,
was what you expected.
It was nothing new. We knew exactly what to be expected, but it was interesting to sort of, it lends credibility to sites that we just previously really didn't think about because for whatever reason, it didn't sort of rise to the top of our clients' ranking.
Andrew, just very quickly, I'm just going to say to everyone that, remember, if you are fascinated by this as much as Andrew and I are, in just the way this all works, remember, we're talking about how you can get into the industry or build a career in the industry in a few moments' time. We're going to be recording that on a separate podcast. Have a look at the website, gettingajobinpr.com. You can find out more there. Just quickly before we round up, though, Andrew, I'm just interested always in the way that the world is changing and what you're seeing change in this campaign, perhaps. I mean, we've talked about AI, but compared to maybe 2 years ago or 3 years ago, was there anything that you particularly spotted that, like going, oh yeah, we need to do it like that now, whereas in the past, maybe we did it like that?
I'll tell you one thing we've been doing a little bit more in the past, say, 6-12 months is really relying more on just embargo pitching and giving reporters a long lead time. There's fewer journalists than ever. They're being forced to do more with fewer resources than ever. The old days, you could reach out to a reporter a day or two before a launch and they would be able to fit it in if they thought it was interesting. Reporters are now asking us and saying, hey, look, I'm interested in this, but you need to think about my production cycle. You need to think about my deadlines. Please, the longer you can give me without being obscene, don't come 6 months before, the better. Because worst case, if it's not a fit, I'll tell you that and you'll actually have more time to then find a new place to go to. But you can reach out. And again, we started pitching this in December for a January 6th launch. So we had about 3 weeks heads up. We partly did that because we had the holidays, New Year's, the holiday lull, vacations. We wanted to sort of get ahead of it. But a lot of the articles that came out, particularly the ones that we set up interviews for, the reporters thanked us for it. And they're openly, candid and transparent, just saying that they've got so much, they're constantly slammed. So being a little bit more empathetic towards the reporters, being mindful of sort of their schedule, giving them more of a lead time than we would do even 12 months ago. We're big fans of exclusive. We're big fans of face-to-face media tours, desk side briefings, all of that. I can't remember us doing so many sort of embargo strategies as we have the past 6 months. I think it just sort of speaks to the new landscape that the media is in, that they just appreciate more time. It gives them more time to think about how it can work for them. And it's a longer lead time for us on the client end. But, having that 3-week runtime, actually going into the holiday lull, a little bit of downtime and vacation, I felt much better knowing we had some things lined up and it wasn't going to be a mad dash.
It's funny. In the past, you think to yourself, oh, no, that's not a good time, but it makes so much sense. Listen, Andrew, one of the problems with talking to you is that I could talk to you for hours, but unfortunately, we've got to wrap. So if people would like to find out more about yourself and Walter & Wall, how would they do that?
waterandwall.com. You can find us on LinkedIn. Give us a Google, give us a call. We'd love to chat.
Wonderful. And also you can find me, of course, I'm on LinkedIn as well. Richard Midson is the name, Midson. If you've got any questions about the show, you'd like to appear on the show, or got any questions about the other sister podcast that Andrew and I are about to record right now called Getting a Job in PR, then do let us know on that too. That's it for this week. We'll have more next week.